Hi, Reverend Paula Zabkar here with Spiritual Soul Center. Happy Sunday morning in June. I was thinking about how we have this misguided idea about what success is. We have this misguided idea because we look out here, and we have this misguided idea because we think it's all about our rugged individuality of what we can accomplish in this world, and like our life happens as we choose it to happen. Well, there's nothing further from the truth about that statement, and I think it's a very misguided way, sometimes even in New Thought, of people saying, well, you can choose your life. Well, you cannot choose what happens in your life. And there are those who manifest all sorts of wealth, who are successful by the outer. They accumulate stuff, they accumulate money, fame, what appears to be security, and all these things. And they want us to school us on that manifestation of how you get all that stuff. They say, oh, if you can have this stuff, you can have all of this. All you have to do is follow these principles for living, follow this way of being in the world, follow these ideas and guidelines for how to accumulate stuff. But listen to me, the true principles for living have nothing to do with manifesting stuff. They have nothing to do with getting more and having more. The principles for living are spiritual principles. They are spiritual. They're not about having, they're about living. You know, Jesus said this, I think it's very misunderstood, and sometimes we have a hard time with some of the concepts he presented to us as we read them in the Gospels, and that is this. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of the needle than it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Now, if we think the kingdom of heaven is somewhere when we die, it's harder to understand, but he also told us that the kingdom of heaven is within us. It's right in us. And so I think what this is saying is when we are so focused, when the rich man is so focused on the manifestation of stuff, it's difficult to get in line with the inside, with the kingdom of God that resides within us, with all of that accumulation and then the management of all that accumulation, of getting all the stuff, of getting all the fame, of getting it all and having it all. And then managing all that, worrying about losing it, thinking about having more, well, that gets in the way. That gets in the way of, many times, of us understanding our spiritual essence, of what it is to be aligned with the kingdom of heaven. So, not always, but we separate ourselves when we distract ourselves from what's out here. I want to read to you this brief story. You probably have heard it before from Matthew chapter 4. It's contained in verse 1 through 10, and it's when Jesus is taken out to the desert and tempted by the devil. And he's tempted 3 different ways, but this is the third way he is tempted, for the third test that he has. It says, the devil took him to the peak of a huge mountain, and he gestured expansively how glorious this was, how all the earth's kingdoms, pointing it all out to Jesus. And then he said, they're yours, lock, stock, and barrel, they're yours. Just go down on your knees and worship me, and they're yours. All of this that is laid out before you. Jesus' refusal was curt. He said, beat it, Satan. And he backed up his rebuke with a quote from Deuteronomy that says, worship the Lord your God and only him. Serve him with absolute single-heartedness. And then the tests were over, and the devil left, and in his place, angels came and took care of Jesus' needs. This is a powerful story. When we are distracted by the things of the world, we make a deal with the devil. We make a deal with the devil. When we believe that it's all about this manifestation out here, that's the deal we make. And Jesus is saying, that's not what it's all about. Get out of here. That's not what I'm here to teach. You know, in this story, metaphysically, the devil is simply our error thinking that this is what's true. It's simply that in us that says, this is what it's all about. All this manifestation and getting. This is what I want. This is what it's all about. And Jesus is saying, no, that's the error thinking in us. And you know what the angels are? The angels are these divine ideas. They're the intuition that we align up. They're the ideas that come from the divine within us. They come from God. That's what will sustain us. That's what this story is about. You know, it's not about success and power and money. That's the devil. That's the error thinking in us that's what will bring us a fulfilled life. But the angels represent something much deeper, much richer. And they contain purity and truth and clarity and wisdom and deep joy. That's what we're about. That's what you will have. If we get away from the distraction of this out here, that's what we have when we rely on the kingdom of God in us. Right? Recently we celebrated, or we became aware of, some of us became aware of, maybe for the first or second time, this holiday celebrated as Juneteenth. And I want to read you, it's also known as Freedom Day or Emancipation Day, and I want to read you a little historical description of what that is to help us understand this date. Juneteenth is the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States. Dating back to 1865, it was on June 19th that the Union soldiers, led by Major General Gordon Granger, landed at Galveston, Texas, with the news that the war had ended and that the enslaved were now free. Note that this was 2.5 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, which had become official in January 1st of 1863. We are now in 1865. The Emancipation Proclamation had little impact on the Texans due to the minimal number of Union troops to enforce the new executive order. However, with the surrender of General Lee in April of 1865 and the arrival of General Granger's regiment, the forces were finally strong enough to influence and overcome the resistance. Finally, the people who were enslaved, the black people who were enslaved in Texas, found out that they were actually free. Had been in slavery for so many years, and they began to celebrate their freedom by wearing the finest clothes that they had, which might not have been fine by the current standard of the day, but finest for them. They gathered together, they celebrated with food and picnics, they gathered together in community, in spite of the fact that the slaveholders of the time had a hard time and in fact refused to recognize them as free. You see, they didn't take into consideration what was happening out here, that it actually had been done. They knew from the inside, they were celebrating a freedom from the inside, even though the outside did not reflect that it did not manifest that way in front of them, that they did not manifest that freedom in front of them just by the declaration, but that they knew it from the inside. They were not moved from the outside, they were moved from the inside. Are you hearing what I'm saying? This is what they did in spite of what they saw. So when the evidence out here does not support the outcome that you feel inside here, when it actually seems to support an opposite income, we need to train ourselves. We need to train ourselves to go to the kingdom within, to go to that spiritual place, to listen to the voice within ourselves, to trust that, to not be concerned about manifestation, but to be concerned about demonstration. That's what it's all about. It's about demonstrating in the world. What do we do when we demonstrate? What do we do? What is spiritual wealth? Spiritual wealth is all that comes from within. It's things like love and compassion and courage and strength and that fortitude that comes from the knowing and trusting from within. It is understanding. It is self-acceptance. It is those things that inform a spiritual life. It is those things from which we demonstrate the truth of our spiritual essence. That's what it's about. Yes, the other thing that Jesus said is when we seek first the kingdom of God, all else will be provided, and I think this is what this means. When we seek first to understand the truth of our spiritual essence, the rest of it will come. It's not the other way around. It's not about manifestation first, it's about demonstration first. Demonstrating that. Demonstrating the power and presence of the divine in you and in me now, regardless of what it looks like on the outside. That is true spiritual wealth. That is the truth of spiritual wealth, of wealth in its finest. Jesus said also, I didn't come here to abolish the laws and the prophets. I came here to fulfill them. I came here to show you how to be fulfilled in them. In them. So I would say to you to say yes to whatever that is for you, because we are all here to demonstrate a unique divine purpose, the purpose for which we were born, the purpose for which we are here at this time on this planet, in this place, to demonstrate that, to demonstrate the deep spiritual truth and essence that you are. That's what we're here to do, and to live it out loud, to live it proudly, to live it confidently, not based on what others think or what it looks like out here, but based on how we feel from the inside, from the kingdom of God place in us. So I hope you consider those words as you go through these times that we're in, through this week that is coming up, through this next hour, these next minutes, as you live your life to demonstrate the truth of what you know from the kingdom of God that resides in you. So let's take a few minutes today, and in our meditation we're going to use this song that we've sung at Spiritual Soul Center before. It's by Ricky Byers Beckwith. It's called Pour Your Love Through Me. Pour your love, pour your joy, pour your spirit, pour your wisdom, because that is the truth and the source of spiritual wealth in me. So as you listen to these words, as you close your eyes and enjoy this meditation, feel the living God, feel the divine in your very being.
Into my heart. Whoa, whoa, wonderful Spirit, pour yourself in me and pour yourself into my heart. Whoa, whoa, wonderful Spirit, pour your joy in me. Pour your joy into my heart. Whoa, whoa, wonderful Spirit. Pour your joy in me. Pour your joy in me. Pour your joy into my heart. Whoa, whoa, wonderful Spirit. Shine your light in me. Shine your light in me. Shine your light.
Pour your love in me. Pour your love into my heart. Wonderful Spirit. Let's take those words and this vibration that we've experienced together with us through this week. Let it vibrate as joy and possibility in us. Let's not forget not to be distracted by what's happening out here, and to stay true to the divine that lives us and breathes us always. And so we end with this prayer together. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. May all beings be filled with loving kindness. May all be well. May all be peaceful and at ease. May all be happy. And amen.